Stay up, cashing in my bad luck. Some nights I call it a draw. Some nights I wish that my lips could build a castle. Some nights I wish they just fall off. But I still wake up, I still see your ghost. Oh Lord, I'm still not sure what I stand for. What do I stand for? What do I stand for? Most nights I don't know anymore. Tonight stops my bones from wondering just why am, oh, who am I? Well, some nights I wish that this all would end, 'cause I could use some friends for a change. And some nights I'm scared you'll forget me again. Some nights I always win. For this, I miss my mom and dad for this. No, when I see stars, that's all they are. When I hear songs, they sound like this one. So come on, come on. Well, dancing got daddy songs, got me to sing, I'm born again. 10 years of this, I'm not sure if anybody understands. This one is not for the folks at home. It's not really for my hands to go. Who the fuck wants to die alone? All cried up in the desert sun. I was breaking for my sister in the car that she called off. And then I look into my nephew's eyes. Man, you wouldn't believe the most amazing things that can come from some terrible night.
Hello. Welcome to another edition of Interviews with a Millionaire Real Estate Agent. This one's special to me because I've got my friend, Miss Christie Cannon, on here. How are you, Christie?
Good morning. I am doing fantastic. So good to see you.
Very good to see you. So this is fun for me in a special way because I've been interviewing a millionaire real estate agent every month, but very few of them I can say, I knew you when. I actually, my very first leadership, I was an assistant team leader in the Frisco, Texas office. And you were, I don't know how many years you had been in the business, but you were just getting started.
Yep.
And look at you now. So this is fun for me. So thank you for agreeing to do this.
Well, thanks for having me. So fun.
Absolutely. First question that it's off the wall and I understand. But I want to get this one out of the way. If there was a song that was a theme song to your life, what is it? And I ask everybody this question because I think it gives us little insight.
Okay, so every morning I say, Alexa, good morning. And I have a playlist of songs.
Okay.
And on my playlist of songs, I have one, there's High Hopes. It's upbeat, it's fun, and it's high hopes. I think it's energetic. It gets me in the right mindset, and it goes through a whole list of songs. And if I tell you some of them, it'll give away my age. But one is Belinda Carlisle.
Yeah.
Yes. Some people are going, who's that?
No.
But it's all about things that put me in the right mindset each and every day.
Yep. So you're going to give me one song, or are you just going to give?
High Hopes. Isn't it called High Hopes?
Oh, is that the name of the song?
I think so. I don't know the name of it, but I think it's called High Hopes.
Awesome. I don't know that song, but I can tell by the title of it.
Bet you do know it. I'm probably just don't have the name wrong, but that's kind of the theme.
If I'm super talented, I'll find it and play it at the end of our interview. So here's the deal. I could introduce you and butcher it and probably leave out some important details. We certainly marketed this interview with your numbers and your statistics, but I want to just give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. Tell us who Christie Cannon is. Tell us a little bit about your business, your team, all that fun stuff.
All right. So I'm Christie Cannon, and I started in real estate in 2004. Prior to that, I did development around the DFW area. I put together a lot of communities with mud districts, work with attorneys, 800-page contracts. And then I got into doing the development side of things. So I was working with a lot of builders in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And in doing such, I realized that the back end of things, working through 800-page contracts and all of the attorneys and going in and doing the land acquisition, and it was fun. It was interesting. And then getting to know all the presidents of the home builders, it enlightened me to residential real estate. And I thought, you know what, I've got a really good grasp on the foundational aspect of the residential side. So I thought, I'm going to go and give it a whirl and try this on my own. And so 2004, got into the residential side, and I ended up being Rookie of the Year my very first year, which was super exciting. And from there, it was just me. One of the things that I realized right out of the gate was, in order to really maximize the opportunity, I don't want to be stuck behind a desk doing administrative things. So how am I going to leverage that with really no money? And I've got plenty of time on my hands. So our office had a transaction coordinator. So I went and talked to her and I said, okay, let me just get this straight. When I get a contract, I just hand it over to you and you got this, right? And she said, I got this. And so I thought, okay, now my goal is to go find a contract. So went out, started meeting with clients, and it was just a matter of me going out, talking to anyone and everyone that I possibly could and finding those opportunities. I was holding builders' homes open. I was holding open houses for other agents. I was advertising other agents' properties with their permission. And that got me into the relationship with clients. And so first transaction, I took it to her and I said, here, now what? So she took it, walked me through it, walked the client through it. And I thought, okay, this is great, because I was able to leverage that, pay her a small fee at closing. It wasn't any upfront cost for me, and away I go. And so that's how I really got started. And I have done I said a green sheet. Is it still called a green sheet, Brett?
I think so. I don't know.
So I have done a couple of green sheets, just because I had to figure out through some systems and processes. But throughout my entire, I've maybe done 2 of them, and I've done thousands and thousands of transactions. So I learned right away that that leverage was key. And as I got going and started growing, I realized that clients were coming back to me. My very first transaction was a $48,000 house. And that's what the first one that I took the transaction coordinator. I didn't care. I just thought, hey, I need to get into this. What a great learning opportunity. So my $48,000 house, I was upfront, I was real. I didn't peacock and tell people something that I wasn't. I was real, and I added value and a whole lot of communication and educated them through the process. I probably overeducated them, because at the same time I was educating them, I was educating myself on how all of these pieces fit together. So that $48,000 house, it turned into 5 transactions for me. I sold it for them. The person who bought it sold it, and so on and so on. And every single person that I interacted with became a client. And so right out of the gate, I got referrals off my little $48,000 house. And that was in 2004. So the clients that bought that $48,000 house are still my clients to this day. And I remember them and know them oh so well. And they've done over $4.5 million worth of business with me since then. So and it's all about that relationship building, and not throwing out ego and how great you are, but truly providing value. And I learned that just right out of the gate. And so through the years, after I guess about a year and a half or 2 years of starting to build things up, I realized that there were some things on the front end that maybe I needed some help with. And am I in a position right now to hire an assistant? So started looking at financing, because you always want to make sure that you're leading with revenue, and started looking at those oh yes, time out.
I'll ask you a couple questions real quick. So day one, you get into this real estate business and you say, I know I need to be out in relationship. I need to be out finding clients. My strengths are not in paperwork or the back end. So literally from day one, you recognize that, and you leveraged a pay at closing type transaction coordinator, and to keep you focused on going and getting business, right?
Yes.
I think that's a really smart perspective, because not everybody realizes that. They start seeing, oh, maybe I don't want to give up a little chunk of my commission in the beginning because I don't have any. Why would you make that commitment in the beginning? Because I did hear you say, I didn't have any money, right? Or I'm starting out. Where did you get that? I'm going to call it intelligence, but that perspective so early on in your career when others didn't? How did you get that?
So I read MREA.
Oh, okay. Right. And this is not a commercial, more so that a perspective, right?
And I used MREA. So I used MREA and I read it. I had it highlighted. I had little stickers in there on, pages so I could flip to them. And I used that as a building block, because I think one of the biggest challenges when you get into this business is you are an independent contractor. And when you go into the office or when you sit down at your desk at home, there's nobody there telling you, hey, Brett, we got to get this done today. Here's your list of items. I need you to have all this done by 5 o'clock today. That doesn't happen. So you have to dive deep within, and there has to be a little grit there. And so my grit was that my husband was going to A&M, and I had a college to pay for, and I also had a son at that time. And so my grit was, I better make this work because I'm no longer getting a paycheck. And what am I going to do each and every day? So I read MREA and I found those foundational pieces. And the key to that was leverage. And rather than going out to lunch with my friends or going shopping, that piece of leverage for the transaction coordinator, I realized that opened up time and availability for me to go out and get more business, rather than tying me behind a desk and taking up 3 or 4 hours of my day on paperwork and communicating with the client through the transaction. If somebody else can do that, that frees up that time for me to go out and do appointments, talk to more people, make more phone calls. And in the beginning, no joke, I had a lot of grit. I was prospecting and making phone calls. I'd drive 2 hours. I was like, it's an appointment. I have a car and that's an opportunity and I will do whatever it takes. So I would drive 2 hours and go meet with somebody and get the business. And that's what it was about. So I realized that, yes, I want that transaction coordinator. I'm willing to pay whatever it was at the time to have that leverage and opportunity, because I realized that it's going to help me grow immensely in the long run.
Yep. So you're calling it grit, and there's a cool book by Angela Duckworth called Grit, right? I might use the word big why or internal drive or motivation, but I think that's one of the success principles that we all observe in top performers is they're really in tune with, hey, I got to get out of bed and go make this happen. And it's important and it's going to look like work, but I'm going to power through it and let's go. Right.
Yes.
And you were in tune with that early on in your career is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
You were in tune with understanding the power of leverage early on in your career is what I'm hearing. And I also heard you engaged best practices, i.e. the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book early on in your career. And it probably shortcut the learning curve you would have taken normally to get to the level you're at, right?
Well, I did go rogue a few times and thought, hey, I'll be honest, I went rogue a few times and tried to do things. I was like, this way, I know they're saying do this, but I'm going to do it this way. And every time it created a stumbling block. And so it took me it took a couple of tries of failing forward through those stumbling blocks to realize, nope, MREA's got it. Let's just go by that. It's already built out in there. So I finally got to the point to where I did hire an assistant, and she was amazing. She was with me for almost 7 years. And what was crazy is that was a big leap of faith, because that's somebody that's relying on me for a paycheck. And a really cool story with her was she had so much faith in my vision that we got to a point, because real estate we go through the roller coaster, right? And I was learning the roller coaster part of that failing forward, where I was busy and I wasn't taking the time to prospect. So I went through a dip. And in that dip, I realized that we have these closings. And after that, I don't have closings. So I took her to lunch one day and I told her, I said, Lori, I'm in a little bit of a pickle and I'm learning through this, but I don't have closings in 2.5 months, which means I'm not going to be able to keep you. And I started crying. She started crying, and she grabbed my hand and she goes, I see your vision and I know where you're going and you've got this. And I have a husband who can support me, and I'm not leaving you. I'm sticking with you and we'll get through this together. And so I was so blessed in that regard, because she stuck with me. There was about 30 days that she did not get paid. And in that 30 days, you talk about kicking some butt and really like everything full force forward. And we got our transactions back up, got a lot of people under contract, was able to back pay her, and we were profitable on top of that. So it was just such a blessing to have her. And so that leads me to say it's about hiring the right people. I got really lucky because I wasn't going through the process at that time. I got very fortunate, but that's the only time that I've been lucky without going through that process.
Got it. So people and leverage and vision, right? Vision
Yes.
keeps everybody on focus and on track, even in bad times. If the vision's clear, we're still pushing forward, right?
Absolutely.
So there could be people on the call right now that are just dealing with multiple offers and not getting deals accepted, or lack of listing inventory, blah, blah, blah. That might be the moment of today. Rewind 2008, 2009, 2010. We went through that recessionary period. Fast forward another 5 years, there'll be something else, right?
Of course.
Uh, Inevitably, but how important is vision and commitment and grit to get through those moments in time, right?
So one of the things that we train weekly on with our team is having that vision. That vision is your goal, right? That's where you want to get to. And so without a vision and without a goal, one of the things that I talk to weekly is we have to have that in order to get where we're going. Otherwise, we're going to get lost. And that vision and that goal is what helps you create your roadmap. So when you say 1 year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, you have to take the time to roadmap that, because and I've used this analogy before, I can't just jump in my car and drive to Canada without a GPS. I don't know where I'm going. It might take me 2 years to get there. I have no idea.
About it.
Just go that way. So you have to have that vision and that goal. And once you write that down and you really understand what it is that you want and you understand your why, then from there, you can take a daily, a weekly, a monthly, and yearly tracker plan to roadmap to your goal. And that's part of the foundation of where you can really build and grow a business. So in the beginning, understanding our vision, where we were going. My vision, by the way, was not to have a massive team. My vision was to be able to afford my husband to go to A&M. Sorry if you're not an A&M fan, but for him to go to A&M and to take care of our son and to live a comfortable life. And so my goal at that time, I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't massive. But what happened was those goals and the systems that we put into place and the foundation that we set very early on was the massive building block that has led to where we are today.
Yeah. And obviously your goals and your vision gets bigger over time as you start to achieve more and you start to see more possible, right? The possibility. Yes. So, I know you, and some people on this call might know you as Christie Cannon, sitting on stage with Gary Keller, being interviewed, kind of the peak of success to a lot of people, right? Yet the journey wasn't all easy. And obviously there's levels in that journey you had to go through. And I'm hoping we can kind of break some of that down today, because I think what's most attractive about somebody successful like yourself is actually the journey you took to get there, not necessarily the numbers we marketed this interview around, although those are highly impressive. But it's actually that journey you took that I'm most interested in hearing about, because I think that's where the grit showed up and learning leverage showed up and perseverance and all that stuff. So without going into your 17-year journey now, and taking 2 hours, what did that journey look like? Maybe break that down for us a little bit.
So it wasn't easy. I mean, it's not, a lot of people go, well, it must have been really easy, or somebody gave it to her, or it's just, but it truly, there were blood, sweat, and tears. And I compare when I'm hiring somebody for our team now, they talk about, I ask them, why real estate? Why do you want to get into this? And a lot of times I hear, I love looking at houses and I love working with people. And we go, next. Why? Because real estate is not about the pretty houses and the talking to people every day in fun relationships and going out and having a glass of wine and lunch. It's the nitty gritty that goes into it. And the building blocks of that is that foundational aspect. And it's been challenging through the years. So one of the other very first things that I did was the foundational piece of building a system. because I realized that if I'm working with 5 people and I have another 5 people inquire, I have another 5 people who are going to be ready in a year from now or 2 years from now, that's stacking that pipeline. And so the first thing I did is I started with Top Producer, which is a CRM. I went into Top Producer and built out drip campaigns, follow-ups. I utilized Top Producer to the fullest extent, so much so that there came a point that we had so many people, so many tasks, so many things in there that we blew up our system, and Top Producers, they couldn't handle it. And so we had to move on to another system. But in that system, I learned early on that having my assistant help out with building that aspect of it, going through, having the right verbiage for campaigns, not being too pushy and invasive, but really building it to satisfy if somebody's a year out, 2 years out, 5 years out, whatever it may be, mattered. And as after I hired my assistant, my husband, who was graduating with an associate's in Russian, master's in Homeland Security, and just this whole thing, Harvard was reaching out to him, all these crazy things. I told him, I'm going to have to hire somebody else, because now I'm at a point where I can't keep up with it all. Lori can't keep up with it all. So we're going to have to hire somebody else. And he said, let's halt and let's talk about this. And so he said, how much are you going to pay him? And I said, I'm going to have to pay him a nice salary, because this is going to be a full-time position. And this is right when he was graduating. And he said, well, maybe I take a year and help you, and then I'll start up my consulting firm, because he was going into government consulting. And so we did that for about 6 or 7 months. And he went to Las Vegas to one of the KW conventions. And he came back from that and he goes, real estate is a business. And I was like, duh, what do you think's been getting you by? And he said, this is real. And he goes, honestly, Christie, I didn't realize how much of a business and an opportunity this is. So in 2000, I believe it was around 2007, 2008, he came and joined us for a year. And now he's been with us ever since. He's gone on to gotten his broker's license, and he's involved in all kinds of stuff right now. So and he's been an integral part of that growth as well. And so through all of this, one of my big why really changed, because in the beginning, my why was about taking care of clients. Clients were my number one priority. And it was about doing the right thing and getting the right results. Because as a young individual, I bought my first house, and the lady that helped me sell it, the realtor that helped me sell it, was so rude and lack of communication. And I had no idea what was happening. And I immediately felt defensive, because I felt like I was being taken advantage of, because I didn't know, I didn't understand, because I'd never done it before. And so one of the things when I got into real estate is I said, I never, ever want someone to feel as I did when I was younger, that I was too young to understand, or I didn't know what was happening. I never want someone to feel like I would be taking advantage of them. So really educating and going through all of that was key to me, clients first. And so as the team started growing, I had to hire a buyer's agent. And that was before the whole everything came out with our whole process now on how hiring and going through a KPA. Thank you, Brett. Career visioning, which I've taken multiple times. So not fully understanding that, I definitely had some pitfalls there, hired the wrong people, and they didn't have the right culture. They didn't have the right attitudes. And it was learning, failing forward again, learning through mistakes, learning through, okay, this worked, this didn't work. And really starting to understand what it was I was looking for, and then hiring the right people, our team started to grow. And through that, we built this culture of our clients come first, and I'm still in production, and we're doing weekly meetings, really trying to keep everyone on that same foundational aspect of the systems, which is rather difficult because on the day-to-day in real estate, you never know what's going to happen. And so trying to keep everyone the first 2 hours of the day going through and looking at who needs to be contacted, who do we need to follow up with? Because what I've learned through all of this, and to summarize real estate, why do people fail? The biggest failure in real estate is follow up and follow through.
Yep.
Biggest failure for everyone in real estate. If they're not succeeding, they're probably not following up and following through at the level that they should be. So as our team,
Christie, what I heard you say is early on in your career, you embraced the CRM part of the business.
yes,
At that time, Top Producer was the premium CRM. It was super confusing, but it organized you in terms of follow-up.
yes,
And it held the tasks accountable. It held the process of follow-up accountable that tied back to your pipeline to keep that business moving forward over time, right?
correct.
And then obviously it evolved, but I think this is one of the things that you embraced early on in your career that caused you to have explosive growth throughout time.
Exactly, because that was one of the things that I learned by putting those systems, those drip campaigns, those tasks, and making sure I kept notes, very diligent notes on each and every client. I was able to very intentionally and purposefully follow up each and every time, which led to that success. And I had people in there for 5 years, and 5 years later, okay, Christie, we're ready. Oh, great. So it works. So I think the longest that we've done is 7 years where we didn't hear from them, but we just kept following up, following through, adding value. And 7 years later, they're moving from Kentucky to Dallas, and we've got the business. So as we grew in agent count, and as we hired more agents, what I saw was my why changing through the years, which was really crazy because I was so passionate about making sure that our clients were 100% taken care of, educated, that I was knowledgeable. I was taking classes to make sure that I stayed on top of everything, educating myself. And I think that's one of the other important things is as agents, we think we know everything, and everything changes and systems change, people change, real estate changes, and educating yourself every opportunity along the way is so important because that's where you build that confidence. And that's what enables you to confidently go into and present to a client and exude that confidence, not ego, but exude that knowledge, exude that experience. And they go, she knows what she's talking about. And I think that is so vitally important, investing in yourself through all of the education and just everything through the years. So we pour into our team, and I found myself really pouring into our agents, helping them understand what is their why, what is their roadmap, what does that look like, how do I help them get there? You want to make $300,000. Awesome. That's amazing. Let's make that happen. And so what I found was my why shifted from our clients from my perspective, and I shifted that over to our agents, because if I'm pouring into our agents and they're realizing that the client is the most important, we're taking that culture and I'm passing it to them and they're passing it to the client. I got 2 wins. And my win is the client is still winning because our agents know how to take care of them. And I'm winning because I'm building successful lives. And it's really crazy. It still gives me goosebumps because I love that I can provide that now because they're utilizing all the tools, the systems, and the resources to reach their goals. And so my husband and I still work together to this day, and which is challenging sometimes. Brett, you know him.
I know him very well.
And so that's its own challenge, but it's been really fun and it's been rewarding, and it's it's really funny. People think, oh, she sits back and she doesn't do anything. Oh no, we bust butt every day. And every day I'm still changing and building on those systems. Every week we're building systems, we're changing them, we're restructuring them, especially right now in this market that we're in. How are we going to overcome these objections? How are we going to overcome these challenges? What do we need to change? Because what we did last year isn't working this year. And we have to be able to pivot and change quickly, especially in real estate, because when you think about the historically, every 30 days, there's different nuances, there's changes, and you can't keep doing the same thing and expect to get the same results, right? You have to continually pivot, change. What are you going to do differently to make that success happen?
So here you are growing this team. And I heard you make mention that pretty houses and I love people kind of rules them out in your regard. But what do you think is the DNA of somebody that can highly succeed in real estate that you look for?
So if somebody who's motivated and hungry, and I think that when you are hungry and you're motivated, that you're going to have a amazing chance of success. But if someone doesn't like prospecting, if you don't like following up and following through, because a lot of times I hear, I want to look at pretty houses and I want to go to lunch and I want to, I like the social aspect of it. The reason that I don't necessarily dive deeper with that person and go through additional layers is they've got to be willing to roll their sleeves up and dig in the trenches every day in order for them to succeed. And here's the thing. I think that there's a place for everyone. And if somebody loves looking at the houses and they want to do that, I think that's awesome. If somebody really wants to succeed at a high level, they've got to have the systems, they've got to have the processes, and they've got to have the willpower to sit down and be independently motivated each and every day to get through that grit and that grind of real estate. And then you get rewarded by going and looking at the houses, building that relationship, getting to go and have a glass of wine after you close, not before. Don't become the friend. And
Perfect.
then you get to succeed.
I love it. What I know about you is, I would say you're a relationship-based agent. Like you built your business on a database. You've got a strong database, but at some point in time, that database just became a system. And I would use the word intense systems and models is a little bit of the secret to your success. The behind the scenes is there's an intensity around having great systems and follow-up and models that creates the rocket fuel to your jet, right?
Yes.
Am I putting words in your mouth, or is that?
No, that's exactly it. And because here's the thing, part of that vision and part of that goal, I would never reach it because those systems are our roadmap to that success.
Got it. Where did you get that perspective? Where did you learn it? If I peel the onion back on a lot of highly successful real estate agents' business, sometimes it's a little messy.
Oh yeah, it's ugly.
Yeah, and but I'm sure there's some mess in yours, and we don't even have to expose it. But I think you're a little more organized than most, and that's why I'm using the word intense systems, because I think that what I know about you, that's a success principle that's created success for you.
Yes, and I think that where I got that was in the very beginning, reading through MREA, watching all of the, I think it was Agent Mountain then, watching all of the videos, and again, educating myself on everything that I could. I picked up that I can't just go to the office and expect to get results without some type of system in place. And so then I got into Top Producer and started looking at their systems. And it made sense to me that if I am able to input this, create that, do a drip campaign, and this again is leverage, right? I'm leveraging that time because I'm not going to sit here. If I have this technology available, that takes time away from me sitting here going through an Excel sheet or a Rolodex and manually following up with these people every day. Manually, I was all about whatever I could automate. I need that leverage because I only have so much time in the day. And I saw those systems as if I took the time to build out that system, if it took me a couple of weeks, it would save me months of time, years of time in the future, and allow me to get to automate follow up, automate follow through, do those things where I'm not having to sit in front of a desk and manually type an email to 20 people a day.
I like it. So let's change directions for a minute. There's a question that I get a lot, and it showed up in the chat, is at some point in time in your journey, I know what kind of a cool person you are, but you have to allow these people in your database that are friends of yours and expect the level of service that Christie Cannon brings to the table. How do you let go and hand somebody off to somebody else? They were asking it back around the transaction coordinator in the beginning, but I know it shows up as when you hand people off to buyer's agents, and eventually the last thing you let go of are listings, right? How do you, in your words, get comfortable with those leverage points to where they're still bringing Christie Cannon service to the table or Christie Cannon standards to the table, but it's not specifically you?
So that was a challenge, and it took a long time to overcome that because number one, it was my ego getting in my own way, thinking that I can do it better than anyone. Well, that is absolutely not true. And it was my ego getting in the way, telling me that you're going to lose so much money if you're not in production. That is absolutely not true. And I had all of these false just feelings and emotions and all of these things telling me that, oh, you can't succeed this way. You have to be in the middle of it. Your clients are never going to work with one of your agents. And especially think about my client from almost 20 years ago, 17 years ago. How am I going to hand her off to somebody else, right? And nobody else can do it as good as me. But that is simply not the case. And so it was very challenging, and it took a very long time to give that opportunity up. And I love working with clients because when you get to the closing table, there is nothing more rewarding than knowing that I helped make this happen.
Right.
I helped them achieve this. And so I had to have the utmost faith in my agents. And I had to have the utmost faith that they had the same core beliefs, the same culture, and the same values that I did. And so we go through training, and we still do this. We have a very intense training onboarding, and for them to understand. Oh, yeah.
I'm guessing you have a system.
I have a system.
I figured.
And that's a whole different system, but it's everything that the Cannon team does. It's every aspect. It has training on contracts. It has trainings on inspections. It has, and all of those things that I've learned, I've poured it all into this training for the agents. So they can take everything that exactly as I've done through the years that have made us successful and pour that into each of our clients. And that way I can confidently tell my client from 17 years ago, Miss McFarland, you are going to be in great hands. Tiffany is one of our amazing agents. She's been with me for 7 years, and you're probably going to like her even better than me because we've improved so much over the years. So you feel free and call me if you've got any questions, if anything goes wrong, or if anything goes amazingly wonderful. But Tiffany is going to be your go-to gal. She's my partner here at the office, and I oversee everything that happens in here. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And that is time and time again, I've had that conversation, and it goes awesome. And I call and I'll check in. Hey, just wanted to see how it's going with Tiffany. Oh my gosh, it's going great. Call them at closing. Congratulations. I'm so excited for you. I still touch base, but I am not in the day-to-day
Got it.
with them.
All right, I'm gonna go another direction. So one of the things that I observe around large teams is at some point in time, there's a DNA to your organization. You might even use the word culture. You know, at Keller Williams, we have a culture to our organization, but I also observe it inside teams.
Mhm.
What would you say the DNA of your organization is?
We're a dysfunctional family.
Okay, fair enough. Just like every other family, right?
So just like every other family. So one of the great aspects is we all have this, we set a goal. Every year we get together toward the end of the year and we take a couple of days as a team to create our goal for the next year. This isn't my goal. This is our team's goal. And they set their individual goals. And from that, we set our team goal and we do it together. And then we build our roadmap. Okay, this is our team goal. How are we going to get there? What are we going to do? And we work that roadmap together. We work our goal together. And each and every week at our team meetings, we talk about where are we at? What are we going to do? Oh, we're a little bit behind goal. What are we going to do? And so but that way we're all working this together. And I say that we're a dysfunctional family because things happen and this is real estate and it's, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. You've got transaction drama, you've got life drama, you've got all kinds of things. But the greatest thing I think about our team is everybody works with each other and they say, oh, you're having a problem with that. Hey, let me help you. Oh, this client, you know what? We're not simpatico here. I can't work with them. Our personalities just don't mesh. Hey, Tiffany says, hey, Jennifer, I need you to work with them. You'd be a way better fit with this person. And it's about having that trust in one another that we truly operate as a team and not just, we're working together as a team and not a group. We're not a group of independent people working within our bubble. We're truly a team of, we're interdependent on each other each and every day.
I like it. I like it. So talk to me, where are you going? What's your vision of the future? If we meet Christie Cannon on an interview 3 years, 5 years from now, who are we going to meet?
So our 5-year goal, right now, our 3-year goal is to, Dallas-Fort Worth has over 7 million people in it. And we have 3 different locations within Dallas-Fort Worth. But our goal is to grow the entire North Texas area and get multiple locations around the North Texas area and really grow and help agents succeed. Because what I found is a lot of agents have been reaching out because it's a hard market. And being able to provide success, opportunity, and everything for them in the area is amazing. And so we have systems built out so we can scale and help agents across North Texas. And once we master that, our 5-year goal is to go outside of our little borders of Texas.
There you go. So 3 years is North Texas, 5 years is expand outside of the state.
Yes, and it might happen sooner, but we'll see.
I understand, of course, always. So how do you you've got kids, you have a husband, we've talked about that. How do you maintain work-life balance running a large organization?
Okay, so you mean to get real?
Please, that's what it's about.
There is no balance.
Okay.
There is no 50-50 balance. You can't say, I'm going to work 50% of the time and I'm going to be at home 50% of the time. It's something that you have to integrate into your life. And everybody says, yes, you need a nice work-life balance. And you have to be able to time block. And time block is one of the biggest lifesavers of all time. And if I look at my calendar, I am time blocked out for everything throughout the day. In the mornings, an hour rule. I get an hour. I do 20 minutes of exercise, 20 minutes of maybe planning for the day, something me, not necessarily work related, but something me. So it's 20, 20, and 20, but I get an hour. And that allows me to wind down. That allows me to think and do everything clearly. And I won't pick up my phone. I won't do emails. I won't do text during my hour because that's my time and I'm going to protect it. And so I work out. I do a podcast. I do a little bit of meditation or yoga or something but I do 20, 20, and 20. Because if it's over 20 minutes, I lose interest. So, but that protects my hour.
You're purposeful about protecting time so that
Yes.
work doesn't get into the boundaries of what is important to you, right?
Correct. Correct.
So obviously it's not balanced, it's integration, as you put it, right? So your kids are how old now?
So I have a 26-year-old, Daniel's 26, go figure. And then I have an 11-year-old.
Okay.
We had a surprise when I was almost 40. So,
so obviously at 11 years old, there's activities and life gets a little busy and,
yes.
and all that stuff. So I'm probably prying, but I'm curious, how do you balance all that?
So again, it's all about the integration of it. So I do especially during COVID's been very enlightening. What I do is she's going to school now. She's been going to school for most of this past year. And so in the mornings, Kevin and I have it set up. So in the mornings, I get my hour. I help get her ready for school. Kevin takes her to school. I get ready. I start making my phone calls. I'll start making phone calls while I'm getting ready. And I head into the office. And then at 3:30, she has to be picked up from school. And we decided that instead of putting her in some type of after school activity because of COVID, we didn't necessarily want her around a lot of kids and risking more exposure over this past year. So at 3:30 in the afternoon, I go pick up my daughter every day. And so that's part of the integration. And so my system is I get into the office, I leave about 3:15, I pick her up at 3:30, we go home. At 4:00, I'm back at my work desk and she's doing her little Zoom with a tutor, or she's doing her homework, her reading. And from 4:00 to 6:00, she's doing her thing. And from 4:00 to 6:00, I'm doing my thing, whatever I'm time blocked for. And then at 6:00, we do another check-in. What are you doing? Get a show on for her. If I need to wrap anything up, I go until about 7. And then I am not a good cook. So typically we order out. We do takeout, or I do something really easy like chicken nuggets.
Yep.
I can handle that.
What I'm hearing you say is there's a system, and
Yes.
The reality is, in order to protect a work-life balance, you have to be purposeful about it. And I think we all learn that over time. And what does that purposefulness look like? It's going to be different for everybody, but I hear you being extremely purposeful in how your day is set up, how your life is set up. So the things that are important to you are prioritized in that system.
Yes. Yes. And during that time, when I get to the office in the morning, I am very purposeful. And you've heard the term big rocks. What are your big rocks? And if I do all of the little things, I will never get to my big rocks. And so I have a planner. Here, I'll show you a blank page of it. I have a planner that goes through, and this goes out to Saturday. It has my goals, my 1, 2, 3 goals in there. And it has tasks. It has a written day planner, and it has notes on everything. So I have my Google Calendar. I have this book, which yes, I handwrite in it because it makes me think if I'm putting it in the computer, it's out of sight. If I'm writing it down and I'm seeing it all day, I'm getting it done. So I work on my first top 3 items each and every day, whatever that is. Then I go through my smaller task, and then everything's scheduled around my appointments throughout the day. And then at the end of every week, it has what were your goals? Did you finish them? What needs to go to the next week? And this is a quarterly book. So I go through and everything is planned out, written out, and then it's systematized into our database to make sure that any projects, anything that I delegate, and that's the other thing, I can delegate very well. And that's how I leverage and get a lot done on our team, because I think we've got 8 members of our success team.
I love it. So give me your crystal ball. Real estate industry's evolved a lot over time, period. It always is evolving, but it feels like it's evolving really quickly right now. Innovation's kind of a buzzword, if you will. Give me Christie's thoughts, Christie's crystal ball around the real estate industry, what you're paying attention to, what you think is just rhetoric in the marketplace. What is your crystal ball?
So I think that we have to pivot. And because real estate as it was 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago is changing rapidly right now.
Right.
And we have to pivot, and we have to be able to really understand the needs of consumers, because right now I think that it's going to go to click here, make an offer, which already exists in some places.
Yep.
And consumers are, I think that it's going to look like we're getting cut out, but we're not. I think that a consumer is always going to need an advocate when it comes to real estate, because they don't know what they don't know. And that's where we come into play. And I think that our voice has to be a lot louder. I think that we have to truly say and help people understand the value that we bring to the table. Even just in the last 6 months, we've had friends that have come to us and said, Christy, Kevin, my friend went with a discount broker that didn't do anything, and now they're in a pickle because they're getting ready to get into a lawsuit because X, Y, and Z happened. And we go, yeah, that's why you need somebody who knows what they're doing, right? And somebody who's truly going to be there and advocate for you. And so I really and truly think that as agents, we need to voice who we are, what we do, and truly help advocate for those clients. And we have to educate ourselves and stay on top of what's happening, because how can we talk to somebody competently about what's happening in the marketplace with all these conglomerates? Why wouldn't somebody go sell to a conglomerate independently?
Yep.
Why would you? Why would you not let me help you and give you 10 conglomerates to choose from, and I'll help guide you through the process, and I'll let you know, hey, they're asking way too much in repairs. They're doing this or they're doing that. Let's explore the opportunities together.
And calling conglomerate like an iBuyer, right?
Correct. Yes.
Or something in those regards. You know, for a long time, the value proposition of real estate agents to the consumer, not the reality, but to the consumer, was data.
Mm-hmm.
You have the houses, you have the information on the houses, but the reality is our value proposition was originally designed around that advocacy, but the industry didn't do a great job of presenting that value proposition at a high level. But what I'm hearing you say is that's really our opportunity, is get crystal clear on your advocacy value proposition and your advice and your professional advice and opinions to consumers. And the more clear and the more you can communicate that, it keeps you in the center of the transactions with your consumers. And really that's where the golden ticket is, if you will, right?
Yes. And far too many times as agents, it's especially in this day and age, it's real easy to text somebody, hey, you still interested in selling? Hey, you still interested in buying? Are you adding value?
Yeah.
What message are you sending?
Absolutely. We got a couple of questions, specific questions of, okay, so you had this day planner and you got all these random thoughts in Christie's brain, and how did these random thoughts and information actually get into a computer? What's the system, I should ask?
So sometimes it's me putting it into the computer, me creating a project. A lot of times it's me grabbing my success team and going, hey, everybody, meet me in my office, which happens quite a bit. And as I'm writing things down, we'll go through and just start talking. And hey, Jesse, can you take care of this? Can you go ahead and put this in the system? And Dustin, can you build out, for instance, we built out an agent referral plan. We built out a plan because one of the things that I think that we get frustrated with is we send out a referral and then we never hear anything. And I'm like, well, that's frustrating. So I thought, well, I never want somebody to feel that way with us. So where did that plan come from? It came from my experience with another agent of not hearing anything through the transaction. So we created an agent referral in, an agent referral out plan that's a drip campaign that keeps everybody informed each and every week along the way. So that's how those things, they just happen through experience, or they happen through me watching a podcast or listening to something, or in the morning, me getting clarity on something because I had my hour of just wind down, and that those things start coming to mind. And I go, okay, that makes sense. And I start putting the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. You have your hour of wind down first thing in the morning, not last thing at night.
Yeah, I'm too tired at night.
I understand that. So, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book is the compilation of best practices.
Mhm.
And having said this is best practice, that doesn't mean everybody does their business that way. And we heard you say you strayed a couple times away from best practices. Anything you could share with us or glean from us in that learning experience that you would share?
Yeah, so it's really funny. In the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, they have everything. They have everything laid out. It's like a roadmap, and it's all laid out in there. And so Lori was my first assistant, was with me for 7 years, and her husband got transferred to Oklahoma. And when he got transferred to Oklahoma, she had to obviously go with him, which was, we were trying to do everything virtually at that time, and it just wasn't going to work. So this is where I strayed. I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and hire some buyer's agents and wait for an assistant, and I'll just wait till I find the right person. Well, that was a colossal failure.
Right.
Because they say what's your first hire? The assistant.
Yep.
And so I had the assistant left, and I thought, I got this, and started just hiring a few buyer's agents without the assistant. And it was a just huge, colossal failure. So that was one of my first real stumbles, set us back quite a bit.
So I think it's important what you're saying is you're real, and we all get the best advice. That doesn't mean we always take it, but
Right.
maybe we should at least hear it, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, it's, and here's the thing, every day I am human too. And there are days, just like everyone else, where I just go, whew,
Yeah.
I gotta go in and I gotta do this today. And I've got to be able to lead a team and help other people succeed at a high level. And it's rewarding, but it's also, I mean, I am not perfect by any means. I go to my team and I go to them and say, guys, this is where I'm at. And we got to fix, we've got this going on, or we've got that going on. I need some help. And so then that's the other thing I love about our team is they'll catch me. If I start falling, they're really good about coming in and whoop.
Sounds like that's been in your organization since day one with your assistant when you
Yes.
had that moment, right?
Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna ask you 2 quick questions, then I need your best advice for all of us as we're
Okay.
coming up on our hour. Do you recommend a coach?
Yes, absolutely. I have a coach,
Yeah,
and I have a productivity coach for all of our agents on our team. And that she meets with them weekly. And that has been a massive success builder, because as humans, we all have to be accountable to someone. And if you're out there and you're not accountable to anyone, then I don't feel like you're going to succeed as high and as much as you could otherwise by having someone hold you accountable each and every week.
Perfect. The last question was new agents or seasoned agents? What's kind of your perspective on that?
Well,
New habits or bad habits?
That's a mixed one, and I'll actually hire both. And I've hired new agents that I have found to be very intriguing. I've got a new agent that's coming on May 22nd, and she has been a school teacher for the past 10 years. Prior to that, she was in pharmaceutical sales, and she is very motivated and a go-getter. And we had a lot of discussions. I went through the entire career visioning with her, and she's very sharp and she gets it. She's gritty, and I can't wait for her to get here. So she's new to real estate, but she's not new to educating people and the sales side of things. And so she gets it. And then agents with experience, that can sometimes be challenging because yes, they bring in some old habits, but through our systems and through our processes, I love it because one of our agents that was in real estate for 18 years, she came to me just the other day and she said, I don't know what I did for 18 years, but this is amazing. And her business is taking off because she's understands the value of systems, processes, and being purposeful and intentional each and every day.
There you go. Christie Cannon, give me your best advice. If you were going to leave us with something like a phrase or a perspective on business, success, life, what would it be?
I said it earlier. I think that most of us fail due to the lack of follow up and follow through. I think that when you follow up, you follow through, and you have a system, then you have a success.
Perfect. Perfect. Any last thoughts, questions? I'm looking for your High Hope song over here, and I can only find a Frank Sinatra. I can't find a Belinda Carlisle.
Let me look on my Amazon.
It's all good. I know I want to be respectful of your time. We're 3 minutes over. Christie Cannon, I appreciate you so very much for agreeing to take an hour out of your day to do this. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My pleasure, absolutely. I'll text you the song, and
right,
thank you so very much for having me.
Awesome. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, bye.